Our scripture for this morning comes from Isaiah 60, as tomorrow we start Epiphany, a brand new church season. Arise, shine, for your light has come, and the glory of the Lord has risen upon you. For darkness shall cover the earth, and thick darkness the peoples, but the Lord will arise upon you, and God's glory will appear over you. Nations shall come to your light, and kings to the brightness of your dawn. Lift up your eyes and look around. They all gather together. They come to you. Your sons shall come from far away, and your daughters shall be carried on their nurses' arms. Then you shall see and be radiant. Your heart shall thrill and rejoice, because the abundance of the sea shall be brought to you. The wealth of the nations shall come to you. A multitude of camels shall cover you. The young camels of Midian and Ephah, all of those from Sheba shall come. They shall bring gold and frankincense, and shall proclaim the praise of the Lord. I'd like to welcome Rabbi Brian Stohler to share with us his sermon from the Jewish New Year, which is Rosh Hashanah. That happened in September, right?
Right.
Welcome.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Thank you. It's an honor to be here. A Happy New Year and Merry Christmas to all of you. As Reverend Alexander just mentioned, I gave a sermon to our congregation at Temple Israel on Rosh Hashanah, which is the Jewish New Year, now several months ago, and Reverend Elnis was there that morning and asked me after the service if I would come sometime and give the same message to Countryside because he thought that it would be relevant. And so I am honored to have the opportunity to do that. So I'd like to start by telling you a story about my grandfather. His name was Lou Marks. In our family, we called him Pop. And Pop passed away several years ago in 2015. He may not have been too popular here in Nebraska because my grandfather was a big booster of the University of Texas Longhorns football team. When we were growing up, he used to wear this T-shirt that he had gotten from the practice squad of the Longhorns. It was a shirt that the players themselves wore during their practices. And I remember it vividly. It's a plain white T-shirt with two words emblazoned on it in Longhorn burnt orange. On top, in large letters, was the word team. And underneath it, in smaller letters, was the word me. When I was a child, I didn't understand what that meant. I remember asking Pop, what does team me mean? And he explained. He said, you see how the word team is on top and it's larger than the word me. It reminds me that I am part of the team, but the team is bigger than me. It means the team needs me, and I have to put the team first. I've never forgotten that shirt. In fact, when my grandfather died, my brother had Team Me t-shirts made for all of us grandchildren, and we wore them under our suits at his funeral. These lessons that I learned from my grandfather are important for us to think about, I think, as faith communities, whether we're talking about a Jewish synagogue or a Christian church or a Muslim mosque or the Tri-Faith Initiative itself, of which we are all a part. The first lesson is that our congregational community is a team. Our team. I know it's kind of a sports word, but I like it because it tells us something about what a congregation ought to be. A team is more than just a group of people who happen to belong to the same club or show up at the same place from time to time. A team is a group of people who share a mission and feel ownership of it and responsibility to it. And they work together to bring their mission to life. At Temple Israel, we have a mission, just like you here at Countryside have a mission. And we each have core values to support that mission. So at Temple Israel, we talk about 4 core values. These values are now emblazoned in beautiful metallic lettering on the 4 pillars of the community court, right in the heart of our building, in both Hebrew and in English. And I'd like to tell you briefly about what they are. The first one is Torah. Torah means transformational learning that inspires purposeful living. The second is avodah. That word means service. Service to God and community through spiritual practice and sacred leadership. The third one is gimilut chasadim. That means acts of kindness. Kindness and support for our members and for the broader world. And fourth and finally is kehillah. That's a Hebrew word which means community. And we define kehillah as building meaningful relationships in our Temple Israel community and the other communities that we're part of, the Tri-Faith community, the Omaha Jewish community, and the broader civic community. These values were handed down to us by our ancient sages. They are the pillars of the world, our tradition teaches. Our mission is to make them real and impactful for everyone in our congregation, to support each other on the journey, to contribute in the best ways we can, and to step up and take our turn leading the way. In sports, we call that a team. In life, we call it a family. We talk about this a lot in Judaism, but I'm not sure it's really entered into the synagogue culture the way it ought to. Frankly, I think all of you in the Christian faith community do it a lot better than we do. And to my mind, at least, Countryside Church is exemplary in this regard. We have a lot to learn from you. And one of the great things about being part of the Tri-Faith Initiative is that we have this opportunity, being in relationship with each other on an ongoing basis, to learn from each other about how we do things, how we develop our communities. And we are learning from you. For many of us in the Jewish community, and I can only speak for us, our relationship to the synagogue is what I call transactional. And maybe that's true in the church community too. After all, Reverend Elness did ask me to come here and give this sermon today. When I say transactional, I mean we pay our dues. That's how we do it in synagogues anyway. We pay our dues, we give our financial gift, and we figure that in exchange, that gets us access to things like worship services and clergy to officiate life cycle events and a program here and there if we want it. Kind of like a gym membership. Gets you access to the treadmill and spin classes. But a membership in a congregation is not meant to be transactional. To be a member of a holy community, like Temple Israel or Countryside Community Church, is to be part of a team, a family that cares about each other and takes responsibility for each other and works together to make the community great for everyone. As my former colleague Rabbi Kadar says, when you're part of a congregational family like this, it's not transactional, it's transformational. It changes you and enriches you and lifts you to new heights. The Talmud, which is one of Judaism's core sacred texts, says that all members of the Jewish community are responsible for one another. That's our Jewish version of Team Me. And I'm sure Christianity teaches the same thing. We should put it on a t-shirt and wear it as a reminder to live it. Because transactional religion is flat and lifeless. But transformational religion is a pathway to meaning and purposeful living and deep connection with God. The second lesson I learned from my grandfather is this: the team, the family, is bigger than just me. Not only is each of us in our respective congregations just one person in a community of hundreds of families, but we're also just one small part of something much bigger than even that. In 2021, next year already, Temple Israel will celebrate 150 years as a congregation, the oldest Jewish congregation in Nebraska. We're part of a Jewish communal family here in Omaha that spans the dimension of time, from generation to generation. Many of our members are second generation Temple members, or third generation, or fourth, even fifth generation members of our community. And not only that, we trace our spiritual ancestry across the ages and across the world to Mount Sinai. Our tradition says that every Jew who would ever live was there that day in spirit. And it's the same for you as Christians. You're part of a faith tradition extending all the way back 2 millennia. All the way back to Jesus and the apostles. And just like us in the Jewish community, to be part of that tradition means more than just reading about it as an historical artifact, as something that happened a long time ago. In the mysterious realm of the Spirit, you know that you were there too. And somewhere in the deepest part of your soul, you remember it. And I believe that's why you're here. So this family we're part of is far, far bigger than any one of us. And membership in what our rabbis in the Jewish tradition call Knesset Yisrael, which is the cosmic faith community that transcends the bounds of time and space, is a sacred responsibility. We are the trustees of the past, the present, and the future. As we say to every child when they celebrate their bar or bat mitzvah at Temple Israel when they become 13, God has entrusted this tradition into your safekeeping. If we want this thing to succeed and to keep going, it's on us and no one else. If we want a vibrant, transformational congregation, we have to be the ones to create it continually. Not just the clergy and the professional staff, not just the president for us or the moderator for you or the board. All of us together have to do it. My former colleague used to say something else I tell our team at Temple Israel all the time. If it's only as big as me, it's too small. If the clergy are at the center of the congregation and your connection to it, it's too small, because clergy come and go. If you rely on the clergy and the professional staff to create the community for you, it's too small because we're only just a few people. The connection that you have with each other, the Christian experiences that you create together, the tri-faith experiences we create together that enrich your life and all of our lives, that the impact that you make in the world together as bearers of God's light, these things are far more important because they're the things that are lasting and make us strong. Now, as I see it, your countryside community excels in this. The way your congregants take initiative to create ministries and groups of various kinds and take leadership in making this the incredibly vibrant community that it is such an inspiration to me anyway, and to all of us over at Temple Israel. But of course, we can always do better. No matter where we are on the spiritual ladder, there are always more rungs to climb. So, let's work together to build something transformational that will outlast all of us here and continue the chain from one generation to the next. Not just in name or in a beautiful building, but in a holy community, a team, a family that is bigger than any one of us. Which leads to the final lesson. And I'll say it to each of you directly, as I said to my congregation at Rosh Hashanah this year. You are part of the team, and the team needs you, every single one of you. None of us can create and sustain a transformational faith community on our own, nor are we meant to. Judaism and Christianity are both communal religions, not individualistic ones. It's really hard to be Jewish by yourself, and I suspect that it's hard to be Christian by yourself too. We need everyone. We need you to play your part in making this family work. I wonder if you guys remember the movie Keeping the Faith. It came out, 15 years ago maybe. It starred Ben Stiller and Ed Norton, about a rabbi and a priest who were best friends. Ben Stiller is the rabbi, and in one scene, he and Ed Norton, the priest, his friend, are out shooting baskets on the court and commiserating about the life of being a clergy person. And Ben Stiller, the rabbi, says to his friend, "My congregants want me to be the Jew they don't have time to be." But here's the thing, and that's so true, so true. But here's the thing. You can't be Jewish vicariously, and I don't think you can be Christian vicariously either. Whether we're Jews who stood at Mount Sinai or Christians who received the revelation of Jesus, each of us entered into a personal covenant with God. Every one of us has the responsibility to honor our covenant by our actions. In Judaism, we call it doing mitzvot. In Christianity, I think the term is doing good works. But whatever we call it, that's what it is to be a person of faith. The responsibility is yours every bit as much as it is mine, or Reverend Alexander's, or Reverend Elnis's. And you can't outsource it. Every one of us is obligated to visit the sick and welcome people who are new and comfort the bereaved and help prepare food so the grieving family doesn't have to, and to pursue peace and justice and to pray with the community and to be there with our fellow members just as they're here for us. We clergy are here to teach you how to do these things and what they mean in the context of our faith tradition and why they're important, but we can't do them for you. Because each of us has a covenant, an agreement with God to be holy and to serve the community and to make the world better. You have so many congregants here, I know, who are shining examples of this, and so do we. They give of their time and their talents and their passions to make the congregational family great for everyone. They are blessings and examples for all of us. So as we begin this new year, I'm asking you to think about your membership in your congregation in a new way. Think of it as being part of a team, part of a family. Think of it not as a simple transaction, but as a mutual commitment we make to be there for each other and do sacred work together. I'm asking you, inviting you to take ownership of your faith and your community in ways that speak to you. Now, I believe, and I talk to the Temple Israel community about this frequently, I believe that each of us has our own pathway into religious life, to Jewish life or Christian life, our own pathway to connection with God and community that inspires us and stirs our particular passions. And it's different for everyone. What's meaningful to me may not do it for you. Each one of us has to find our own pathway. And that may mean trying out a bunch of different things until you find it. But when you do find it, you'll know it, because it will spark a fire in your soul and energize you, and you will feel alive and purposeful and driven to pursue it. So, find your pathway. Ask yourself how you can give and where you can make an impact and how you'd like to grow and help all of us here in this room and in the church community make Christianity a Countryside Community Church transformational. This team needs you. This family needs you. Happy New Year.